Welcome to the Let Me Put My Pants On podcast, the podcast where pants are optional. I'm Katie Hinckley, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Brandon Potter.
Hey.
And Jaleesa Johnson.
What's that?
But sitting with us is Walks Tall.
Woo!
Hi guys.
Yay!
How's it going?
Walks Tall!
First of all, thank you for agreeing to be here.
Yeah, man.
Even though
you live
we're
here.
not we're First of all, because you live here.
Right.
Second of all, our podcast is a bastard right now. We're illegitimate.
Yeah,
Right?
it's an embryo.
I'm not married yet.
We're figuring things out as we go along.
Definitely.
I'm happy to be a lab rat for you.
Thank you.
I like to figure things out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly though, I can't think.
Am I hearing you right today?
I can't think of a better person
Yes.
to start this podcast off with.
Definitely.
So,
Awesome.
Yes, and you guys have known each other for much longer than Katie and I have known Walks Tall. So
yeah, I've known, when I first saw Walks Tall, they were still going by John Huckabee, and my first experience with John Huckabee, where was it at? You were playing a show with the Dum Cumsters. I want to say it was at the Vault or something.
Was it the Safe House?
The Safe House.
It was at the
yes.
It was the house party.
Yeah,
right?
and it was the
Nice.
first time I saw
It's a
the Dum
bunkhouse.
Cumsters
Ooh.
play.
Yeah.
And I showed up with a couple of my friends. We had no idea what to expect,
Oh,
and I show up. It's in the middle of nowhere, but
Right.
from San Diego, and I'm scared. And it's this punk rock show.
For the
And
listeners at home, I'm in a band called the Dum Cumsters.
Yes, we will mention
and
that.
we were
Yeah,
playing a show at a house party up in Escondido.
we'll do a little
Go
intro.
ahead.
We'll be like
Yeah.
music extraordinaire.
Go ahead, no, just
Yeah.
so they know. Go ahead.
But so we fill out a place just because we've never been there before.
Right, right.
We go inside. It's kind of weird. It's I've never been to a bar like that before. It's a basement cabin or something. I don't know. It was a weird place, but it was so. We get drinks. You guys start performing, and I'm watching you guys, and you are wearing a dress, and you're in I think you were wearing white stilettos, and you were just
Yes.
rocking out on the electric guitar. What do you call it?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Electric
electric guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I was you guys sounded amazing, and I just became obsessed right away. I just
love it.
loved it. I've never seen anything like that live before. And I just thought it was so cool, and
now you
I
live
started following you
together.
guys. But I started going to their shows all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe you can take it from there.
I just remember after our first show, Brandon came up to me, and I had no idea who the fuck he was. And he just came up to me, and he was like, "Oh my god, you're so good! Oh my god, wow! I love your band!" And I was
Perfect,
like,
Brandon.
That's
yeah,
exactly
I was
how
gonna
I
say,
sound.
And he's like, "Can I hug you? Is that weird?" And I was like, "No." And I hugged him, and I thought he was really nice.
Yeah.
And then he came to the second show that we played, which
Okay.
was I think at the Ken Club or the Tower Bar.
Yeah.
I think it was the Tower Bar.
Tower Bar.
He came to that show, and he brought 5 friends with him, and they were all very well dressed gay men.
Right?
Very well dressed gay men, and they were all on a show.
Well,
And then I thought it was really cool that he was there, and all these guys were there, and I didn't know that he was friends with Crystal at the time. I didn't know that our lead singer and Brandon were really good friends. I
Right.
just thought that we had this following of gay men. Would be nice. I thought
too,
maybe they like our music, maybe they got a crush on the band. Who
Right.
knows? I thought it was cool. We were starting a following.
Definitely.
And then our third show, Brandon came back, but this time with 8 guys or 9 guys.
He's good at that,
There were
yeah.
a bunch of fucking
They
people.
multiply,
He brought
yeah.
a bunch of people with him, and I went over to Crystal after the show because they were all huddling around us after the
Right.
show. And I went over to Crystal and I was like, Crystal, I think we have a following. I said, all of these well-dressed gay men love our band. I think we've found our audience.
So-
And she goes, "Oh, that's just Brandon. He's just a friend of mine." And I went, "Really?
No
really?
big deal.
You know the guy? Well, fuck. It was all ruined,
Oh,
she
that's
knew.
even better.
She knew the guy.
That's actually hilarious because I was following you guys.
Of course you
because
were.
I love the show,
Yeah.
I love dragging gays out of Hillcrest. Come on,
Yes.
Yeah.
do something different. Come to the
Get them
fucking
sucking dick all day.
rock
Yeah.
show with me.
Let's
know,
suck dick in a different neighborhood.
let's go mosh. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Go suck
Different
off some
alleyway, different
skinheads.
trash
Yes,
cans.
get that University Heights dick. That's pretty much
One of
it.
the greatest honors was with Brandon. It was like our 4th or 5th show, and we had like a CD release party or something like that.
Okay.
It was the first time we ever recorded our album. Mm-hmm. My buddy Dan Lloyd and his friends with V-Hive Records recorded our album in our buddy Dan's garage.
Very nice.
In Point Loma, California.
Okay.
And we had a CD release party that night. We were at some stupid bar. What bar were we at, Crystal? Do you remember? I don't remember. It was some stupid. It was some dumb bar.
It was like the Safe House or something.
No, it was a
Yeah.
bar. It was a bar.
Okay.
But Brandon came to that party. And
I went to
he
all your shows.
He came to that
I love
show.
that.
Like, you know, he came to all our shows, but he came to that CD release party, and he bought a T-shirt and he bought a CD. And he came up to me. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, I love your show. Will you give me your autograph? Will you sign my CD?" And I never had anyone ever
That is
before
so
or
fucking
after
sweet.
asked me for my autograph,
Yeah.
and I signed Brandon's CD for him, and I
Yeah.
remember like I almost cried. That
I
he
love.
wanted my
Oh
autograph.
man, I'm about to
I'm gonna
stick.
cry.
I thought it was cool.
I love talking about these stories
Oh.
because you're right, and I remember this. And I was a fanboy before we like became friends. Like,
I
was-
didn't even know.
I fell in love with
I
like
had no idea.
I didn't know. I didn't know who he
musician.
was.
And I was just. I love the Dum Cumsters. I
That's real, man.
go to
That's-
every single show I am able to.
That's how I got into comedy. I think you're a fan of what you love, like before you become like full on invested and involved.
We have this joke that what do you guys call me? I'm not a groupie or I'm not a band-aid until like I have sex with one of the people in the band. I've been a little close
Like
with
you
some of the
haven't tongue fucked
bandmates.
Crystal.
Well, I don't know. Like me and Crystal have.
Can we fact
Okay.
check that?
You made out with me.
I mean, I made out. I think with
Uh-huh.
half the band.
Yeah, half the band.
2/3 of the band.
Wow. Are you going for like a
I'm trying to.
four-
I want to fuck the whole
A
band.
trifecta.
Beautiful.
That's how
Yes,
much I love
it.
the Dum Cumsters.
You
He's
want
gotta
to be
get.
there.
He's got to give it
Tom
Gene and
Dumpster.
Jeremy still. He's got to give it Gene and Jeremy.
Trying to get
Okay.
get over
I'm
that.
rooting for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get over that whole gay thing.
I was
Minor
gonna say, I was
detail.
like, so how straight are we talking? Like, are we
Like a
talking
noodle?
like straight-ish, or are we talking macaroni?
Lightning
Are we-
bolt.
Al dente, total dente, like what? So, as someone who didn't know you personally at all, like I literally was talked to about you by various people, but being Brandon or Liddy or whatever other roommates, and it was always John Huckabee, John Huckabee, John Huckabee, and it was so awesome. And when I saw your name on Facebook, I was like, oh, like maybe that's just like a thing. Like maybe it's just like, I know people don't put their real names on Facebook. And I was very interested on the story behind Walks Tall because, to be honest, like I was just like, I knew you as John. And that, even though I didn't know you,
Yeah.
like that's just what, in my mind, I saw your pictures on Facebook and I heard your name was John. And then I saw that your name was different. So and when I was told that was your actual name, like what the name you preferred, I wondered where that came from. So I was wondering where John Huckabee started and where Walks Tall started in that kind of like sandwich relationship.
Well, there's a little lie I always tell people. I'll tell you guys the truth. The lie I always tell people is before I was born, my grandfather named me Walks Tall, but that's bullshit.
Okay.
The truth is,
You're getting
That's
real
what you
shit.
told me, and I believed it. You asshole.
Exclusive. You
the
heard
truth,
it first
the truth
here,
is, the truth is that when I was 5 years old, my grandfather went on a spirit walk. It's what the Cherokee Indians do. It's on the fifth summer
Yep.
of a child's life. You're supposed to name it. But you don't just pick a name. You have to go find their name. And the only way to find their name is you have to find them in the spirit world. So Grandpa always told me that when he went on a spirit walk, he met me in the spirit world, and I told him my name was Walks Tall. But that's why I tell people I've been Walks Tall before I was ever born, because the concept of the spirit, that's your name before you're born. It'll be your name after you're dead. It'll always be your
love
name.
that.
But so Grandpa, he went on a spirit walk, which traditionally you sit in a teepee and you smoke peyote for however many days it takes to have a vision. Sometimes you don't have a vision. There's also people who do spirit walks without drugs. You can go on a spirit walk without drugs, but my grandfather did use peyote. But anyway, so that's how I got the name Walks Tall, and it's always kind of been a family name with my grandfather. This is my mom's dad and my mom. It was always the name that they called me growing up. They'd call me
Really?
They'd call me Walks Tall.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So
That's
it's my family name. It's my family.
It just keeps coming back. Like you can't escape it.
Well,
right?
yeah.
What made you decide to start going by Walks Tall instead of John Huckabee? Because when I first met you, you know, I've always known you as John Huckabee, and you went on that journey with the Appalachian Trail, and you know, I remember when you announced, like, in the middle of all that you decided you're going by gender neutral pronouns, and you're going by the name Walks Tall that was given to you by your grandfather. So I guess I would ask you, what prevented you from going by Walks Tall before, and what made you decide to start going by it now?
I've thought about it since I was very little, because my grandpa used to always tell me that Walks Tall is my real name, and that John Huckabee is just my
slave name.
It's my Wachichu name.
I was gonna say your whitey name.
Starbucks
Well,
name.
Wachichu doesn't mean whitey.
Starbucks
Wachichu is what the Cherokee and a lot of other tribes just call anybody that's not human.
Oh, interesting.
And they call each other humans. So, like, let's say
Yeah.
you're Cherokee, I'm Cherokee. We're both humans, but
Right.
those people, they're not human. They're others. That's just what they call it. It's not a racist thing.
It's just always been
It's just
kind of
what
a
they
social
call.
construct.
Anyway, my
Yeah.
grandpa, he always said to me that John Huckabee is my Wachichu name. It's not my real name.
It's
He
just
was very
It's a legal name.
insightful. Like,
He's always told me your name is Walks Tall. So my whole life I've had this thing with the name where I've thought, should I go by it? That's what Grandpa says is my name, and I've always connected to the name. But, you know, I never really thought about it that much until I did go on this trip to the Appalachian Trail. All hikers on the Appalachian Trail, I'd say 99% of them have what they call a trail name.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
you asked me the question.
well,
I'm answering.
but listen.
it's good. It's a
But
good answer.
when you announced your name change, my first impression was like this was just for the Appalachian
No.
journey, and I thought like once you came
No.
back you'd be John Huckabee again. But
No.
you're back now, and you.
That's why I said from this
This
day
is your
forward.
name. Yeah. So I'm sorry,
I
but this is
honestly-
an important distinction.
But anyways, that was the name that I went by on the trail. That was the name I went by.
Right.
For me, when I started, it was just the name that I was going to go by for the hike.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, and it's a really long story.
connected with
I was
it.
there for 3 months, but as it
That's
went
a
on,
long time.
I had some experiences that made me realize that I
it.
wasn't just walking, or I wasn't just hiking.
You were walking tall.
I was earning my name.
It's
you
a
know?
very
kinda hard to-
nice.
It's a very beautiful name, and it has a lot of beautiful symbology, and I'm really interested in, like, you've always been a very artistic person, and based on what I have heard other stories about you, you've just always been musically inclined, artistically inclined, like you're just very open mentally. And I'm interested about your artistic background. Like, what was your first art that you fell in love with?
It was music.
It was music?
Yeah, it was
okay.
music.
What was your first instrument?
A drum kit that I made.
Yeah?
Well, explain.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I had a really good friend named Tyler, and Tyler, he lived right across the street from me, and Tyler and I used to like run out into what we called the woods, but it wasn't really the woods. It was just like
Some placed trees.
It was a place with a bunch of trees along the side of a bridge.
Yeah.
It was a viaduct. This was
okay.
back in Fremont, Nebraska.
Yeah,
That's
I was
where
going to say this was not here in Southern California. This was Midwest.
This was Fremont. I lived in Fremont, Nebraska for, I think, from the age of 2 to 9.5.
Really?
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Fundamental, man.
So
Yeah.
my friend Tyler and I used to go out there, and I started listening to music because my uncle Billy, when I turned 5, he got me a record player, tape player, AM, FM radio.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
That's amazing.
And my mom gave me all of her records, which was like a stack, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like 4 foot high.
Yeah.
And she gave me a trash bag, literally a fucking black trash bag, just filled with tapes.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
That's in the first couple tapes I listened to actually were Queen, News of the World, and I listened
It's
to
one of my favorite albums.
the
I
Sex
love it.
Pistols, Nevermind the Bollocks. I listened to that album. Those are the first 2 albums I listened to, and I was really into it. And I wanted to like play music. And my dad had a keyboard that he got me that I would like push notes to like go along with the music. But I wasn't really playing it. I was just kind of like experimenting. But like the first instrument I played was a drum kit that I made out of rocks and boxes. And this was in that little woodsy area by the
That's
bridge.
so
My friend
cool.
Tyler and I like made this drum kit, and we would just sit there and just beat the shit out of these drums
man.
and these boxes and these
so
rocks.
That's
you
so.
know?
So,
yeah.
dude, I've been like living with you for several months now.
For like a
I
year.
know, like,
You've lived with me
music-
for a year.
Yes,
Yeah.
and music's like a big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You play like I don't think there's an instrument that exists that Walks Tall cannot play.
Hey.
I cannot play any reed instruments
Oh, whatever. Shut up.
or any brass. I have a trumpet that I blow.
When,
Yes.
you,
Oh,
what
I
about woodwind?
blow too.
What?
Is that reed? Woodwind?
I don't know any woodwinds, but I do have a flute.
What's your favorite
Okay.
instrument to play? Like now, is that a weird question? But what's
No,
what do you
that's
like
a
to
good
play a
question.
lot? I mean, we gotta
You might
fucking.
prefer singing, the vocal instrument, you know?
So, yeah,
Obviously
your
the
first
vocal.
instrument, and what's your favorite instrument now, and why?
I like playing the ukulele and I like playing the piano. I like the piano because the way it feels in your chest,
100%.
and there's so many. I think the piano has more versatility.
The
than
resonance
any
of
other
piano
instrument.
I would
is
love
very.
to learn. I'm so impressed by pianists.
I think cello's up there with the piano too, but I don't own a cello.
But you've played.
No, I've
Oh,
actually
We
never
need to
played.
start a
But,
GoFundMe or whatever.
I like
For our
ukulele.
listeners, yeah.
I like ukulele because of the personality of the ukulele.
Oh, I love.
And I also like that it's small and I can take
Cute.
it anywhere.
Yeah.
And I like that my favorite thing about the ukulele is I think the ukulele is the best folk instrument because it's strung kind of like a banjo
Yeah.
in the sense that the string closest to your chin is a higher pitch than the rest of them.
Okay.
It expresses a
And
different kind
so
of
it has
mentality.
that
to be
twang
honest.
to it, but it also
Happier.
has like the highs of the
Yeah.
mandolin. So when you're
I
playing,
love
if
the
you have a
mandolin.
guitar and a ukulele, it sounds like there's a banjo and a mandolin happening all at the same
That's
time.
dope.
Even though it's just a ukulele.
Just
so.
that little insight, because I'm very musically challenged. I just love that little analysis.
Okay, so Walks Tall. My first like exposure to you, you were jamming out on the electric guitar. You were wearing a dress. It was like knee length. You were
It wasn't slutty, but it was hello.
classy.
Stiff
yeah.
ankles, though.
Like Kate Middleton length, and you were in like these really like high white stilettos. Like that's what really I was looking at first, and then I think you were wearing lipstick.
Mhm.
Where do you get your inspiration? Like, why do you? How can I ask? Like, why do you dress the way you do? Like, why?
Can I
I'm an
split that
idiot.
into two questions?
Yeah.
Actually, so why you dress the way you do? One, fucking, how do you find your dresses? Because they're cute as fuck, and I want them. And two, when did that happen, and why? Like, what inspired you to start wearing non-binary clothing?
I've been dressing like this since I was really, really little.
Oh.
I didn't really start doing it publicly or openly until I was in college. But
Okay.
well, I guess senior year of high school. You know,
Yeah.
I'd
You're
wear
pushing that envelope.
I'd wear what they'd call PFCs to school. It's a very
Right.
racist term. It means Puerto Rican fence climbers. They're those
Shout out
really
to Puerto Rico.
my
Wow,
father.
that took a turn for like way worse than I thought it was.
Racism.
That was-
No. My father bought me this pair of PFCs
Got it.
when I was in high school, and they're just really pointed leather shoes with heels on the back. But
Oh,
anyway,
exactly.
I'd wear those because it sounded like a girl when I was walking, and I liked the way it sounded.
The heel clicking.
Okay.
I like the heel click. Anyway, no. But when I was like 4, actually, I used to wear my mom's like pantyhose and her dresses and shit. Because my mom was in the Navy, and she used to get deployed for like
Months at a time.
I don't know, yeah,
Months.
months.
You were
So
you were tracking it by how much mac and cheese you ate, but she was tracking by like every time she went and in your fucking bunk bed.
So that was kind of like what I started doing when I was really little. I used to wear mom's shit. But as I got older, I started to kind of, it wasn't a mom thing. It was just a me thing, you know.
What was it like when you started in college, like starting to wear dresses and stuff? Were people like, I mean, people were an asshole to you, right? Of course they were.
Fuck yeah, people were assholes to me. I used to go
How
to
did you
school
handle
like
it?
that. As non-violently as possible, to be honest. I was always really violent growing up. I got in a lot of fights.
Interesting.
Every year. I've actually never gone a whole year without getting in a fight.
Wow.
I get in a lot of fights.
Why?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
One, what school did you go to for college?
San Diego State.
San Diego State.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, not to be unexpected. Also, I mean, I grew up in East County, which is very like typically racist and homophobic, and like I was called fag hag a lot. And like, were you predisposed to that? Did you not give a fuck? Like, did it not affect you? It just made you mad that people weren't like understanding that you were just like, I don't give a shit.
I just didn't want to let it get to me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Right.
I didn't want anybody to get to me, but you gotta understand, I was brought up this way. You know?
Your parents were totally supportive of you during this whole time?
Well, they didn't really know during this time. My parents didn't really know much about this until like a year ago.
You kept it a secret the whole time?
Wow.
Like you dressing up?
They knew. They saw it.
Parents
okay.
know, man.
But I had little excuses. You know, I was in a punk rock band.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, my dad would be like, what do you got to dress on? You got a
It's
show?
called the character.
And I'd be like, yeah, I'm playing a show tonight, Dad. You know, and I always did theater, so you know,
Right.
they kind of always turned a blind eye to it. They never really identified it as a part of my identity.
Got
They just
it.
saw it as a thing that I did.
Faith.
They saw it
yeah.
as an artistic thing that I did. They didn't really know
All
that
for the
I.
creative process.
So I'm I want to understand, and so our listeners understand. So, what do you like about dressing? I mean, we should all be able to dress the way we want to dress without
Thank
any
you.
like social repercussions, right? Like,
Yes,
who gives a fuck?
100%.
God,
I don't
people
give
are
a fuck.
stupid. Like, why do we? Like, I don't care if some guy's pants are saggy.
Right.
Or you're wearing like when I was growing up, like my dad would like, oh look at that fucking idiot, like wearing a hat backwards, like what a retard, like just growing up, and
Yeah.
like the pants sagging, like who
It's a
cares?
form of expression, and
Why
people
does it
will always
affect
be
you?
super critical of expression.
I honestly think saggy pants are stupid, but
But,
that's just me.
Thank you.
Easy access.
So you're dressing the way you want to dress. Finally, you're in college.
I try to look nice.
People are fucking with you. Where, for our listeners, like, what kept you going?
beating the shit out of
What
people.
kept you like dressing the way? Like, what kept you like strong? Like, why did you keep dressing the way you did? Like, what kept you like
How'd you
motivated?
keep walking tall?
What kept you walking tall? Yes, that's beautiful, Jaleesa.
I mean, he got it.
That was good. Spirit World did
I
it.
think it's just how I was raised. You know, my parents always told me to be myself and always be proud of who I am, no matter what.
You
Even though they
believe
didn't,
it.
even though they didn't really know who I was at the time, I still took what they taught me.
That's fucking awesome.
And I mean, I played a lot of football growing up, and I learned a lot about self-worth and shit like that playing football. I also learned a lot from in high school doing theater from my professor Brian Redfern. He really believed in me. I had a lot of good mentors growing up, honestly. My parents and my theater teacher, my coaches playing football. I have good friends.
That's so important.
When I was in theater, and I went to college for theater, so like, yeah, I'd get shit going through campus, but once I got to the theater
Your
department,
happy
You're
place.
fine.
everybody was
I-
cool.
yeah.
So like, I had a lot of support still.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? I'd get shit, but it didn't outweigh the support that I had
What-
from my friends and my family.
What do you like about wearing dresses? Are you making like a statement? Are you trying to like, you know, fuck you, I'll wear whatever I want? Or is it you just comfortable in dresses and you like dresses? Because like I've worn dresses before and dresses are comfortable, you know? So like what do you like about dresses?
I like looking pretty.
Oh, okay, yeah. You don't need any other reason than that.
Can I
Yeah.
just say, like looking pretty and not having to put pants on? Like, it's literally one article of clothing
what?
that...
He doesn't wear underwear. That's the only reason why he wears dresses.
I never wear underwear.
Dresses
Neither
are
do
not.
I!
I usually go-
Do you
Without
own underwear? Do you own a single pair
I
of
have
underwear?
3 pairs. I
I
have 3
have-
pairs.
It's a question.
When do you wear your underwear?
I wear my underwear if I'm planning on wearing my 1 pair of jeans every day. So like,
When you're working.
I only have like a pair of jeans, and I wear them every day for my job because I'm a carpenter. That's what I do for a living. That's my day job anyway. And
Yeah, carpenter of the arts.
I make scenery for the San Diego Repertory Theater.
It's fucking awesome.
And so I'll wear jeans to stretch out the life of my. I'll wear underwear to stretch out the life of my jeans. That's the only reason why I wear it.
Yeah.
I like this topic because I think it's
Underwear?
Definitely, it's the most relatable to me. The idea, honestly, of wearing a dress, stockings, these very like traditionally feminine things, I've never really related to myself. I've been on the opposite end where I think I feel more masculine most days.
We talked about this last night.
Absolutely, I feel more on the androgynous side, and I've always felt insecure about that. So I wanted to kind of see if there's maybe any insecurities you might feel comfortable talking about that you had to work through as someone who felt very conflicted.
Well, I mean, I met my fiance's parents like a month ago.
Wow.
And
Holy shit.
the second time we hung out, I wore a dress. I mean, I was really insecure.
Wow.
then.
What
I
was that like?
I was shaking.
Oh.
And I was with Colleen, my fiance.
Yes.
And she was very like encouraging and just be like, hey, just be yourself. Don't worry about them.
That's
Can I
amazing.
just interject and say
and-
that you made great choices with Colleen? She's an amazing
Oh,
person.
hell
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Well, let me
Shout out.
tell you what happened.
that's a whole nother 10
we were
minutes.
in the kitchen with her family, her parents and her siblings.
Right.
And I'm just standing there in this navy blue polka dot dress. Like we were gonna go out. We were going on a date that night. Like she was taking me out to a bar or something like that, gonna get me drunk.
Oh,
You
my
know.
goodness.
And then take advantage of your butthole, right?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But we were standing in the kitchen. And Colleen's mom said, "You should make Waxtall something. He looks hungry." Right? And then Colleen says, They look hungry, mother. We don't use masculine pronouns. Colleen's like, we don't use masculine
That's a good
pronouns.
person right
That's a
there.
keeper.
And I
You
almost
picked a
started
good
crying.
one.
I just was standing
She is
there,
fucking
and I was
real.
shaking. I just
I'm
looked
tearing
at her.
up now. Oh my god.
You know?
That's beautiful.
That's real.
She's
That's
really cool.
unconditional right there.
She's
She-
really cool.
Yeah.
I honestly, I mean, going back to the whole name thing, she was also really encouraging for my name. It was my decision to
Right.
go by
Of
Waxtall,
course, but
she was the person I talked to for like a couple hours on the phone
That's
before
amazing.
I made the decision.
Yeah, man.
That's really fucking cool.
I gotta say, I'm glad you're surrounded by people that encourage you to be who you are and support who you are. Because honestly, I might be a little biased, but living with you and seeing you perform is like all these things about you with the name, you know, wearing the dress. Like it's, I feel weird saying this, but it's like it's all normal to me. It's like I don't even like see any of this. You're just like a regular person.
always
to me,
known
you know?
me like
even though you're
this.
not. But that's how I see it.
Oh, I just think it's really interesting that we talked about your spirit name, and that phrase really kind of gets to me because I like the idea of the spirit. Like, I'm really into that. So, like, do you have any, like, more in-depth thoughts about what the spirit means to you? Like, do you really feel like it's transcended, like, through generations? Like, do you have any thoughts on that about your name and your purpose and your, you know, values? Sorry, that's so deep.
No, you're good. But
really
if I
have to
interject,
pee.
Absolutely.
okay, so my interjection here is I think that part of what Jaleesa's getting at is obviously the person who named you had a relationship with their spirituality that led to you being named Walks Tall. How do you feel about that, and do you relate to that kind of spirituality?
I absolutely relate to that kind of spirituality.
Very
I've lived probably 90% of my life not relating to that spirituality. It's been the last 2-3 years that I've started to really opening my eyes to things, and honestly, being on the Appalachian Trail, I've come to the conclusion that this is my own personal conclusion I've drawn from experiences in the world.
Right.
Okay, and everybody can have their own beliefs. I'm not
For
saying
sure.
I'm not saying this is the one way to feel.
This is just your
I'm still a skeptic, but please continue.
I just feel like everything happens for a fucking reason.
No
And there are no
coincidences.
coincidences.
I am a strong
But I
believer
also
of
do
that.
believe in free will, you see. I think that free will and destiny, or whatever you want to call it, I think that they're actually the exact same thing.
I think so.
And this
too.
is something
100%.
I've had hours and hours and hours and hours in the middle of fucking nowhere to think about.
Yeah.
And
That's the
to
best way to go.
experience. So that's kind of what I think. So to answer your question, yes, I do share similar, or if not the exact same beliefs as my grandfather.
Right, and then you've experienced it in your own way. You've had
Yeah.
those months on the trail. What was that like? I mean, being so isolated in the middle of nowhere, just with nothing to do but think. Like, what was that like? I know it's kind of a vague question, but like, when the epiphanies kicked in, like, do you remember those moments, the view, anything like that?
Because you started this journey, like 5 months ago,
Yeah.
and you have literally been living off of what you're able to carry on your back.
Yeah.
You have been disconnected. You've been, I just like when I was imagining you, John. Walks Tall. Like I'm in my bed, and I just imagine you like eating like bugs and moss, like drinking out of a
Listen.
muddy creek.
There's no way I can edit around that. So would you just please repeat the whole line?
No worries.
Is that okay?
Yes. What did I say?
I can't do the whole edit around the name. So just you.
Oh,
you
I think it's fine if it's in there.
I think it's kind of
cool.
funny how I messed
It's
it up.
all right. We go
Yeah.
back. Me and Brandon go back. Don't worry about
I
it.
think
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I'm
We'll
trying-
leave this whole thing in here. We'll leave this whole thing in
That's
here.
fine.
Yeah.
My
Then
big
continue.
thing is,
Thank you, Matt. Thank you,
Is
Matt.
that
Don't worry
nice,
about it.
yeah.
is also making Brandon a real person. This is a real thing that
And
all of
it's-
us deal with at this point, and
We've already
We're getting- it's new for everybody, even
has
us
this relationship.
Radical liberals.
So everybody at home watching and listening knows I have only been going by Waxtall for like 4 weeks.
It's an adjustment, yeah.
Everyone is adjusting.
So you had expectations before or no?
No, I didn't have any expectations for
Did
the trail.
you know anything about it before you decided that you were going to do it? Or
Nope. I didn't know anything about it. Everybody that I had met on the trail had done a lot of research about it. Some people had prepared for years for this. I spent 3 months saving up money, and I just got together this mishmash of gear that I thought I would need. I found out very quickly when I had gotten there that I only needed about 20% of the gear I brought. So what I did was I sent home a lot of packages when I had gotten there. I sent home a total of 6 packages.
You're a survivor because
Stuff.
if like me and Jaleesa tried hiking the Appalachian Trail, like we would have been dead in like less than a day, right?
Spooning
Jaleesa-
wouldn't save us.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know.
and then there's the temperature changes drastically. Like everything is wet.
you would have
There's-
forgotten your water bottle, like
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
There's no stores. Like you always have diarrhea. It sounds like
I would run out of weed, but
I
that's
mean,
besides the
when
point.
you have enough fiber in your diet, you will shit your brains
What
out.
was
Like
your
that's the thing.
What was your experience on the trail?
It was a shock getting there. I got there at Trail Days, which was it's kind of like a Burning Man festival for Appalachian Trail hikers. Everybody meets in Damascus, Virginia, and it's this 5-day long festival of music. I got there right when it started. It was Thursday, March 18th when I had arrived there. And that's where I met my hiking partner, Earthling. That's where we were planning to meet.
Right.
We planned to meet there. He started in Georgia, Springer Mountain, Georgia, which is where the trail begins.
Okay.
And he had hiked for, I think, 40 miles, and then he got injured, and he had to get off the trail, and he stayed with his family in Virginia Beach.
And you kept going?
No, I was in San Diego at the time.
Oh, okay,
I was
okay.
stage man. He started before me. I was still stage managing a
yeah,
show.
yeah.
So he had got injured, and he stayed with his family in Virginia Beach for like 3 weeks, and then he got back on the trail, and he hiked for, I think, 80 or 100 miles before he met up with me in Damascus. So when he got to Damascus, he waited there for a whole week because that's where we were planning to
goodness.
meet. So he stayed there at a hotel for a week, waiting for me to get there. So when I flew in, I learned a lot about the trail from people that I had met. I
Right.
was at Trail Days for 2 whole days. The 18th and the 19th of May
Yeah.
was when I was at Trail Days, and I basically spent the whole time just talking to hikers and learning what I
Just
needed
getting
to
a
know.
feel. How many miles total did you end up doing?
1,000.
1,000 miles?
Oh,
That's not the whole trail. The whole trail is 2,200 miles long.
Holy shit!
I don't even think I've walked a mile. Like
I did 30
Is that
in
possible?
Mexico
Do people
this
do
year,
that?
but,
Well, anyway,
yeah,
I
I,
1,000.
I smoke weed every day. Like I don't even know if my lungs would
Definitely not.
keep.
Anyway, it was my my first day at Trail Days. I met this guy named Unicoi Hiker. He's this old guy that I met he's only hiked small sections of the trail.
Right.
But he gave me really, really, really good advice, and he told me all I need is warm weather clothes, wet weather clothes, and a pair of clothes to wear every day when I'm hiking, which majority of the day, it's pretty warm out during the day. It gets
Yeah.
really cold at night, but during the day, it's pretty warm. So he told me just to wear the same outfit every day. And then he told me I'm going to need food, and he told me I'll figure it out what I want to eat.
Okay.
A lot of hikers brought stoves to cook their food with.
Yeah.
Me and my partner Earthling only ate cold stuff like
Like what?
ham and salami and pepperoni.
Stuff you were carrying.
And
Can I-
cheese, and we ate tortillas and things like that. So we were what you call stoveless, which I didn't meet a lot of people who were stoveless.
You mean
so,
the poor people diet?
No, it's just another way of.
It's just an
surviving.
easy way of food.
How much were you eating that like you found in the wilderness? Like what were you eating? Anything like?
I ate berries sometimes, but that was very rare.
Oh.
It was mostly
You
stuff
brought
that we
most of your
brought
food, right?
with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Just for clarification, where exactly you said it started in Virginia?
That's where I started hiking.
That's where
the
you
trail.
started. So where does the full trail start? You said your
It starts
friends
in
in Georgia.
It starts in Springer Mountain, Georgia.
Georgia.
Then it goes all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine. That's
Okay,
where the trail
wow.
ends.
So it's a whole East Coast trip.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Wowzers.
even know where the Appalachian
Well,
Trail
I
Well,
didn't
that's
either.
why I was asking.
That's like- And I lived in Maryland, and the Appalachian Trail goes through it, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind
Yeah.
of like all I cared about, like that.
I heard
part, you know?
Damascus and I thought, wow, he was overseas. Oh my god.
No, I thought it was kind of funny too.
Oh my god.
It's like something out of the Bible. Right?
Right.
So you started in Virginia, and you got to the end in Maine?
No,
Okay.
I hiked 1,000 miles, like I said.
And then you took a bus. So you're like, fuck this.
No, I went as long as I could. I ended up saving up $5,500
Yeah.
So you hit your goal.
to do the trip
Yeah.
because, like I said, I got some other jobs and I was working those other jobs and
And people were supportive of you and being very
yeah.
awesome.
Before I left, I had actually saved $5,000.
Very
Before I
nice.
left, my dad gave me an extra $500 and said, "You're gonna need this. I want you to take
You
it with
need
you."
souvenirs, like obviously.
I didn't, aside from rocks that I mailed
I was
home.
gonna say,
I didn't get any souvenirs, but so I had $5,500, and it was, well, we were 558 miles into the trip, and 2 days prior to that, my hiking partner sat down on a rock just outside of Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. This was Earthling, and he sat down on a rock for like an hour and a half, and he told me right when he sat down, he said, "What would you do if I went home today?" And I said, "I would tell you that you should do that." And he said, "Would you go home with me?" And I said, "No." He couldn't believe it
Wow.
because I fucking hated hiking the whole time.
Right.
I bitched about hiking every day.
But you started this.
but this was your mission. Like,
Did he leave?
Well, no, he didn't leave. He stayed with me. But the thing was he debated on it for a couple of days.
Okay.
This was the first day though, and he asked me why I didn't want to leave and stuff, and I never really told him. But I told him that I couldn't leave because I felt like every dollar I had saved up
Was for this.
for the
it
trip,
was for a mile of.
I called it
whatever.
death money.
Because we were like
No.
all hiking with you.
Well, it was
through you.
That's part of it, but the big thing was the fact that Heather's father died,
Oh,
and
that's
the only reason why I
Yeah.
got that job to make that money. So I felt like if I stopped, I'd be dishonoring her father.
Can you tell us about that? Actually, I don't
was-
think we've talked about that.
I would
You
like-
don't have to use it, but it'd be nice to hear.
I would like some clarification.
I told
on
you the stage manager for Sex with Strangers couldn't do it because her father died.
that. Yes.
And that's the only reason why I got the opportunity was because someone died
That's how I got a promotion.
and
one
she
time.
left.
It's crazy.
So they asked me to stage manage it.
That's right.
so
okay.
So I felt like
I
if
know
it
you
wasn't
mentioned that
if it
before.
wasn't for her father dying, I wouldn't have been able to go on the
One
trip.
door closes in the
So,
craziest way. Yeah.
so in my mind, every dollar I had to go towards the
Wow.
trip because someone died for it to happen.
and that meaning, that
That
value it gave
that
you.
and also all the gear on my back was
Wow.
from Brandon and Liddy
Right.
and Crystal and my friends Walter and Brad. I mean, everybody helped me. My dad, everybody helped.
You're kind of carrying all
So
that.
I felt like
yeah.
I wasn't alone out there. I had a whole army of people who loved me, and I couldn't stop, even though I wanted to every fucking day.
Fucking dope.
So I couldn't stop because I didn't feel like I was allowed to.
I love that.
And I told Earthling that I also couldn't because I and she's in the fucking room now, so it's a little funny saying it. But I promised myself that I was going to get to Colleen any way I could because I needed to ask her to marry me.
Yeah.
And that was part of the hike too. So I couldn't stop. Hi, Colleen. She's in the room. So I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop because I had this mission that I was on.
You're saying
And-
this while I'm PMSing. This is not fair. This
So,
is not okay.
It was just a lot of stuff going on. And basically, when Earthling told me he was going to go home that day, I told him he should do it, and I prepared to hike the rest of the trail by myself.
Damn.
And I started freaking out. And then for the next 2 days, we hiked in silence. We didn't talk for 2 days. And hold on now. We didn't talk for 2 days. And you asked me why I hiked 1,000 miles, and the whole thing, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So we hiked for 2 whole days in silence, and then on the end of the second day in silence, towards the end, he told me that he wanted to get off the trail the next day. And I told him, I was like, why? And he said, because if I don't get off the trail tomorrow and just take a day to breathe, I'm going to go crazy. And I said, well, if you get off the trail tomorrow, I'm going to hike on without you. Because we stopped in town 3 days ago. We packed 9 days of food, and I'm not stopping until I get to the next town, which
Right.
is 7 days
You're
away.
committed.
Well, I wasn't committed. I was just crazy.
no, you're not. That's not
And
crazy. That's
So I
not.
told Earthling if he was leaving tomorrow, if he was going to stop tomorrow, I was going to hike on without him. And maybe we'd meet up later, maybe we wouldn't. But basically, I was planning on hiking without him.
Right.
It rained every day on the trail. In fact, the longest we ever had without rain was 4 days. It's the longest that ever went without raining.
And how many total days was it?
I was out there for 3 months.
So 120 days approximately.
Approximately. So this particular day that we were not arguing, but almost talking about splitting up, it was raining like crazy, and I was hiking far ahead of him, just kind of getting in the mindset that this is going to be the rest of my life on the trail. I'm not going to have anybody with me. I have to do it by myself now. And we stopped at this place called Penmar Park. It's right on the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania. We were about to hit Pennsylvania, and we were, like I said, 558 miles together that we hiked.
Wow.
That was my 558 mile mark. So we were at Penmar Park, and we stopped at Penmar Park. When we were there, I took my shoes off because my feet were hurting. And for the first time ever, my feet were hurting. Ever. And I took my shoes off, and my feet were just covered in blood because of all the rain and how wet my socks were. And everything was rubbing. And my shoes were old at this point. I hadn't replaced them yet. So I looked at Earthling, and I just started crying. And I was just like, Earthling, if you want to get up the trail tomorrow, I'm with you. Let's just stay together. Let's not leave each other, please. I don't want to leave you. I don't want you to leave me. Please, let's just stay together. And he was like, okay. And he's like, well, okay, whatever we got to do.
Right.
So I was like, I haven't even looked at my fucking bank account. I don't even know how much fucking money I have. So I pulled out my phone. I happened to have service at this place. So I went online, and I found out that I had I think I had $2,500 left.
Okay.
And how much trail did you have left to
I was trying to, I had given up on the concept of getting to
the end,
the first day of the trail.
You're just trying to get to Colleen.
I wanted to get to Colleen, and she was in Lincoln, New Hampshire, which was 1,358 miles
from where you started.
from where I started.
Jesus Christ.
I had to hike 1,000.
And you'd already done halfway at that point.
Sorry, 1,317.5. That's how many miles I had to go.
Damn, that's
and at this
romantic.
point, I had only gone 558.
Buy me flowers.
Taking an
So
Uber everywhere.
I was less than halfway. And I had already gone through more than half of my money.
Right.
So, I mean, at this point, we'd already been out there for 2 months. So, I looked at the map, and at this point, both knew that we were both spending about $250 a week.
Right.
So I knew that I had about a month left in me. And I also knew, based on our averages, that we were hiking 350 miles a month.
Okay.
350 miles per month.
Wow, that's a lot.
Which, $1,000, 350 miles. And I thought, if I hike 350 more miles from now, I'll be at 948 miles.
Right.
So what's another 52?
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, let's see if I can get to 1,000 miles at least. And I looked at the map, and I wanted to figure out where 1,000 miles was. And I had my own mile markers. Everybody that starts the trail in Georgia has actual things at their mile markers.
Okay.
You know, every 100 miles, there's always something there.
For sure.
But because I started in Damascus, I didn't start at mile 0. I started at mile 468.
It's a little off, yeah.
So for me, every from 468 to 568, that was 100 miles. 668 was 200 miles. So I looked at 1,468 miles. I tried to find something on the map that was there. That'd be my 1,000 mile mark.
Right.
Because I figured I could do it. And when I looked at the map, there was nothing at 1,468 miles. There was only a road at 1,467.2 miles.
Okay.
Wow.
And if I hit this road, this was in Connecticut, if I turned right and went east on the road for 0.8 miles, which would have been 1,000 miles, it would take me to a town called Kent, Connecticut. And in Kent, Connecticut, I knew when I saw the map that was the 1,000 mile mark.
was your
They sound like
milestone.
cunts.
And that was where I was going to try to get to. So I called Colleen immediately, and I think she was working or something. She was doing something.
Were you guys already together at this point?
Yeah, we were together.
Okay.
We started dating before the trail, and she was the only person I talked to the whole fucking trail.
That's so amazing.
I called her after crying with Earthling, and then I cried more on the phone.
My feet are bleeding.
No, I didn't say that. Shut up.
Don't belittle it.
I'm covered in ticks. And
All right,
It's real.
shout out real
real.
quick. Shout out real quick to Colleen being a fucking awesome person and supporting the fuck out of her partner.
Yes.
Going on an epic
It's a good
trip
woman.
to discover yourself and know yourself so much better than you knew before. And I honestly, like, I don't know what I would do if Matt left me for that long. I would be totally supportive of him doing it, but I would fucking cry, like, every day.
I wouldn't want to dump Carla, but ooh, I'd be tempted. just because, like, I need that, like, it has to be a real good reason, and you had one.
I wouldn't trust them and be like, who you fucking in the bushes? Like, you slut. Like,
See, I don't
cheater.
All right. Well, before I left, I mean, like the first day I was on the trail. Well, actually, it was before I even left. It was the last time I saw Colleen. It was the last time I saw her. She told me, wherever you are on the trail, if you call me, no matter where you are, I'll come find you and I'll come out there.
Oh my God,
And
Colleen,
so,
stop it! I'm crying.
When
now.
I was at Penmar Park, I called her and I was like, "Hey, can you come find me in Kent, Connecticut? That's where I'm gonna get to. I'm not gonna be able to make it to you because I don't have enough money to get there." And I was really upset. And she said, "I'll come meet you in Kent." So she met me in Kent. That's where she met me. And that's where I asked her.
And it, oh my God.
Anyway.
Are you really crying?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That is beautiful. Wait, so you proposed to Colleen in Kent, Connecticut?
Yeah, I was at my 1,000-mile mark.
That is so romantic.
I thought I told you about this, Brandon.
I know,
If I
but
ever write a rom-com,
listeners-
it's gonna be about you guys. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
So that's where I got to. To answer your question, that's why I hiked 1,000 miles and not the whole goddamn thing.
You
'Cause
hiked
it was
1,000
it was a
miles
matter of money.
because of Colleen?
But honestly, when Colleen and I talked about this, it made sense that she, the whole.
that you not die and live.
No, the whole. There is something cool about me hiking all the way to get to.
Oh, who
Lincoln.
gives a shit?
You know, that would have been cool. It would have been very heroic, But I think it made more sense that she came to rescue me.
Fuck the Appalachians. They're all dead now, right? Like, I don't know.
All I can say is if you hike the Appalachian Trail for 2 weeks, you get it. You don't need to do any more than that.
I like
That's a
that.
long
Yeah.
time. 3
travel.
months is fucking stupid.
It sounds like
It's just overkill. It's way too much.
It sounds
It's the
like
same
you're-
thing every day. All you do is you wake up and you eat,
Walk.
and
and
you pull down your bear bag because you have
You
to hang
walk tall?
you have to hang your food in the tree so bears don't eat it.
Jesus
You
Christ.
pull down your bear bag and you eat, and then you pack up all your shit, and then you just move fucking all day, and your body hurts and everything hurts, and all you do is cry and want to go home, and then
Any bear encounters?
you stop. Oh, I saw
Do
5 bears.
you start a fire every night? Like, how do you
Nope,
fight
we
the
only
bears
made
off?
3 fires. We only made 3
Oh,
fires
wow.
on the Appalachian Trail.
Has this journey on the Appalachian Trail changed you at all as an artist?
Yeah, I haven't really made any art since I got home. I've only been home for a month.
Right.
I've been building a set for a play called Hand of God.
Okay.
But I'm the carpenter. I'm just building it.
right.
I've been I do feel different. I do definitely feel different as an artist. I mean, I feel different as a whole fucking person.
Yeah.
Do you have like a different, like, do you see things differently? Do you appreciate things? Like, I mean, because you were like on this fucking trail, living in mud. It sounds like you're wet all the time.
Yeah. Just
for
like
4
my
months.
panties.
Hey.
So, other than like Colleen keeping you going, well, I don't know, now you're back. Like, what do you like really appreciate now that you're back to normal living?
Everything. I appreciate everything.
Running water.
Yeah.
I
A
have
roof
this is a
and
very personal question, and
A
and this is
fridge. TV.
things to
pretty
keep
cool.
things cold.
Air conditioning's cool.
Yeah.
Liquor.
Cool.
A
Liquor's
fan
cool.
is nice.
Cocaine.
Multiple
Cocaine is
clothing
also
options.
nice.
Clean clothes are cool.
Clean clothes are good.
Having a place to sleep is cool. Not having to like worry about where I'm sleeping. every
Not
night
having
is
to
cool.
pick ticks off your ball sack every night. That must have been a pain in the ass.
That'd be another 45 minutes right there.
I never got a tick in my balls, but I did get the tip of my dick stung by a fucking mosquito.
All right. Hey, all right.
Are you sleeping naked?
Start
No,
over.
I was pooping.
Walk us through it. Wait, a mosquito landed on your dick hole and stung it?
I
Not
was
your
pooping.
dick hole, but
I was
your-
pooping, and I was in Pennsylvania, and the entire time you're on the Appalachian Trail, you're constantly getting eaten alive by bugs.
Oh,
It
yeah.
never
100%.
stops.
Yeah.
It never fucking stops.
That I remember that about
That's
it.
why I hate the East Coast.
And every time you poop, you're constantly swatting things because
Yeah.
like your ass is exposed, your legs are exposed, your back's
They want
exposed,
the good
and they're
stuff.
just flying at you.
Yeah.
And like you'll get like 5 or 6 mosquito bites on your ass
Just minimal.
within a second
Yeah.
when you start shitting. Like the second you
So
pull your pants down,
horrible.
they just land on you.
Crazy.
You know? So I was just wiping my ass and I looked down at my dick and there was just a mosquito like
Motherfucker.
on my dick, like,
And there's just like
"Hey."
just waiting, right?
He was just sucking on it.
That's your dick blood.
And I was just like, oh no. So I flicked him off, and then I went back to Earthling, who, this was the first time we ever made a fire, actually.
Okay.
Oh,
It was
wow.
the first fire we ever made, and he was sitting by the new fire that we had just made together with some of our friends on the trail.
Yeah.
And they were all hanging out with us, and they had just gotten in. And they were like, all right, we're going to go set up our tents. And I was sitting there for like 20 minutes with them, like just trying to play it cool.
Right.
So they all got up and left. And after they left, I was like,
But then your dick got itchy.
I said, Earthling, something horrible happened. And he goes, what? I said, my dick got stung by a mosquito. And he went, what? Is it okay? And I go, I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. And he goes, look at it. Why are you waiting around? Look at it.
Did he try sucking the venom out? That's only with snakes, folks, for our listeners out there.
Also jellyfish. Oh, that's peeing. You should
Oh,
pee
yeah.
on a jellyfish.
So
Yes.
I want to ask you. I love you to death. You're such a dynamic person. What's your personal identity? I want to say like non-binary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I identify as non-binary. I feel like gender is a whole spectrum, so that's kind of
Agreed.
Well,
not
what
kind of.
science
That's
says.
that's how I feel about myself in terms of that. I mean, it's
And-
forgive me. I've only lived with you for 2
Oh,
days. What's
go
your
for
name
it,
again?
Jaleesa.
It's like what Jaleesa
Yes.
Jaleesa and I were talking about the other night. Jaleesa was telling me that she feels like she is a woman, but people always perceive her as
More masculine.
more masculine,
butch
or
on
more
the scale
androgynous.
of-
And I was just saying to her, well, I have the opposite feeling.
Right.
People look at me and they see a man and they treat me like a man, but I feel
Most definitely.
very androgynous. I feel very much in the middle.
I'm very femme.
Yeah.
And
You're almost more
so-
fun than me.
anyway, I just see gender as a whole fucking spectrum thing. So that's
I
kind
do
of
too,
how I
as
view
well
it.
as sexuality.
Yeah, and sexuality. I look at it all
So-
that way. Yeah.
I'm a gay man. I'm 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've been gay since I was like 10. So I don't know. I've known I've been gay for like over 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought I knew everything about sexuality and gender expression, but then like I just learned about personally what non-binary means. Like I don't even know, maybe like a year ago, and
Yeah.
it just kind of like blew my mind when I heard about it. But then like when I think about it, it's like, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Like so you don't identify what that means for people that don't know. If you identify as non-binary, you don't identify with male and you don't identify with female. Like,
with
binary,
the
like
societal constructs
who-
of gender.
binary
Yeah.
means two, bi is two, right? So non-binary is neither one. Is that kind of where like wearing dresses might come into play with your expression?
Or is it
Well, I already
just-
told you.
I know.
I like wearing dresses because I
going back to it.
like
Okay.
to look pretty.
Because
I already told you that.
I will say this. You know, when I first met you, I thought about it a lot, and I thought of you as a, and I hope, please don't take this wrong, but I thought of you as like a cross-dresser or maybe even a transvestite, and I might not know the differences between those. I'm sure there's
That's a
big
good point,
differences.
yeah.
But like, have you been called a cross-dresser or transvestite
I have.
before?
I have. I
And
used to
how
tell,
did that make you feel?
Well, I used to tell people I was a cross-dresser because I didn't know how else to explain it.
Right.
And then as I started to like learn about myself and what other people see themselves, I started to learn that I'm not a cross-dresser because
Yeah.
I'm not wearing girls' clothes. I'm wearing my
Your
clothes.
clothes. Yeah.
And I started to learn that I'm not a transvestite because I don't wear dresses because I get a sexual kick out of it or anything
Right.
like that.
It's simply for
It's
everyday
just-
living.
I want to ask you, so you are non-binary and you prefer gender-neutral pronouns. And for our listeners out there that don't understand that, so it's basically if you identify as man, male, masculine, you usually go by like his, him, he.
Yeah.
If you're female or feminine, you go by like she,
His.
she, her.
Yeah, that's pretty much
What's the
the
other
bulk
one?
of it. Yeah, I think so.
And then
Women don't matter. Women don't matter. It's okay.
and then so here's where it gets tricky. Non-binary, gender-neutral pronouns. It's they, their as in THEIR, and then
Correct.
them. they, their, them. Now, so I've been in a lot of kind of debates about this with linguists. I used to date a guy that went to Harvard for linguistics, and we were talking, and I said, like, you know, how do you feel about this? Like, should non-binary people go by like they, their, them? Should we make up new terminology? Should we adopt terminology from other languages? And I want someone that actually identifies as non-binary too. I want to know what they want to do. So please, what do you think?
I do think that the English language is lacking in terms of having other pronouns for other people, because it's not just right. I remember learning when I was in college that languages like Japanese and I think Korean, a lot of the East Asian languages have different pronouns for different types of genders. Same with also old Native American languages, for instance.
Very true.
But like Latin-rooted languages or Germanic-rooted languages, like the English language, are very masculine and very feminine, and that's how they identify everything, right? So I do think our language is lacking. I think it would be cool if we had more words, but I think that they, them, and their is a perfect substitute for someone who does, like myself, who identifies as non-binary, because as I've learned about a year ago through my own research, that they actually is a singular pronoun.
Oh, and we're all taught that.
It actually,
plural.
you think it is because of how we use it, but it's like when, let's say you're not here and someone's like, oh, where's Jaleesa? It's like, oh, she went to the store. Or you could say they went to the store. Oh, they went to the store. You know, it is actually a singular pronoun.
I love that.
So in that sense, I think the English language is fucking fine. I think it's just people need to be educated and not be so goddamn...
Not be an asshole.
No,
I don't mean an asshole. I mean closed-minded. Like,
assholes are closed.
It is, even though the English language is like totally crazy and totally over the top and like it makes no fucking sense. Like it really doesn't. Like there's so many rules that are the I and E.
Me
and
personally,
whatever,
maybe it's because I'm biased, but me personally, I think the English language is like one of the most beautiful languages in the planet.
I think it's wonderful because...
But I like poetry, so what do you want from me?
People look at the English language and they think that we talk literally.
Yeah.
But really it is about context.
Oh, sure.
And like, I have a job where I say the same fucking spiel every damn day.
Right.
And I say like, oh... like, this person is going to interfere with you. They are the whatever. They don't know if it's a guy or a girl.
Right. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Usually.
It really doesn't fucking care.
And why should it matter, you know?
It really doesn't. But at the same time,
like, unless we're
most
fucking,
languages,
why does it matter? I don't need to know if you got a dick or balls.
In most languages, including Latin languages like Spanish, there are different ways to say feminine and masculine words.
Right.
So, like, for instance, what is it? Like bebo is the feminine version of drink, and beba is it's not accurate.
I see.
At all.
Yeah.
That's not at all what the word is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
even more than gender, there's more than one sex too. I have.
I agree with that completely.
There are hermaphrodites who I've had in my family. And for instance, we all call the person him because everybody referred to them as him.
Okay.
My uncle Fred was a hermaphrodite, and everybody referred to Fred as a him. But Fred had a vagina and a penis.
Maybe just to make it easy, right?
It was just to make it easy.
Yeah.
Just to make it easy. But Fred, you know.
Do you feel that they identified as?
From what I learned from my grandfather, Fred identified as both male and female. That's how Fred identified.
So, and they didn't have a word.
But this was back in like the early 1900s.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
This was a long time ago.
So you think we need some new words in the English language, right?
I think that.
I mean, English is always, we get new words every day.
We really do. We get new words every day. I'm not saying we need new words. I think that eventually we will have new words. I think that someday we will. But for now, I think they, them, and their is perfect. Perfect.
No.
I think it works.
That's good to know.
I think it works. Yeah. Because technically it actually does work. It does work, and it does make sense.
Can I ask you, can you kind of maybe explain, like, clear up, so your gender identity does not.
Your gender identity does not preclude you to a certain type of orientation. Like, you identifying as a non-binary person doesn't mean that you're hetero or homo in any way. It's just who you are as a person. And your sexual identity is separate from your public identity, I guess, as we would say with dressing and stuff.
Or expression.
Expression, yeah.
Colin, what are they asking me? I'm not sure either.
I guess what we're asking is like,
Guys.
I'm asking if your gender identity correlates with your sexual orientation or your physical expression, the way you choose to express yourself. Do any of these things correlate with each other, or are they all separate entities? Like,
That's a social construct.
An easy way to ask
It's a
it.
social construct. It's a social construct.
let him answer. It's a complex question, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, does the way your gender feels, does that affect the way you want to dress? And does that affect the way your sexual identity?
I think
So-
what Katie said is fucking like has a lot to do with it, the social construct
Okay.
thing.
And
Like
this is-
I've wondered this myself. Like, what if I lived in another society or another culture where everybody just wore white shirt, white pants, and that's all people had, and that's all they ever wore. And that's like regardless of their sex or their sexuality. What if that's all they wore?
What would you do?
I'd probably want to run around naked because that's how I fucking am.
Yeah.
You know?
You'd
I
wear
probably wouldn't want to wear anything.
you'd wear a white dress.
I don't know.
It's scary. I don't know.
I've also wondered, what if I was born with a vagina? Would I want to wear
Pants?
female clothing?
Fuck pants.
Maybe I'd want to dress more masculine because I had a fucking vagina. I don't fucking know. I've thought about this
I
myself.
can relate to
I
that.
have as
I've
well.
thought about this. I think that there's a lot of pressure on people to act a certain way because of what their genitals are, and I think that has a lot to do with how people develop. And I think just my own character and how I feel about the world and how I feel about myself in the world, I've always gone against the stream. So
How
I think
much-
that has something to do with it too. I can't just say it's strictly a gender thing. I think a lot of it has to do with the fucking
But I
rebellion
agree.
thing.
Yeah, nature versus nurture.
I've constantly rebelled against every fucking thing I've learned since I was
So
born.
you were lucky and you had
So-
cool parents that supported you.
So I think it's a mix. I think it's different person to person. I think it's different person to person. I think
Okay.
a person's expression and gender
I got
identity and sexual orientation, they're completely independent things. They're completely, what is the right word I'm trying to say? Is it
Independent?
exclusive?
Or exclusive, yeah.
Mutually exclusive?
Exclusivity.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know what to expect, so I didn't know what I was going to get out of this trip, but I got a lot out of it.
I'm happy.
I got a lot out of it, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I learned that everything always kind of works out the way it needs to. I learned that whatever you think you need, you'll find out what you really need, and you'll get it somehow just by putting it out there.
Yeah.
I learned what survival is, what surviving is, not just overcoming paying rent or whatever the fuck, but
How do you jerk off on the Appalachian Trail? What do you comment?
Way to kill the moment,
do you have a
Brandon.
You just kind
I'm asking the important questions. Were you jerking off on the trail?
I was jerking off.
I mean, of course you were, but like that, every time you jerk off kills like what? Takes out like 300 calories. How do you make up for those calories? You eat like so much bugs or moss, like
You at least 300 calories every time you come.
200 or 300 calories.
No.
Fuck,
I
really?
don't know. I'm not a
Oh my
scientist.
God.
Wrong. He is not a scientist. He's completely fucking wrong.
How many calories, Matt? How many calories?
You can run 4 miles and not burn 300 fucking calories. So you're gonna burn that jerking off? Fuck no. That's
I know.
ridiculous.
I might
Probably like 25
squirt
to
a lot.
50 calories.
I
a
might
fucking
squirt a
load.
lot.
If you sit there and just tug on your
I
dick for an
see.
hour and a half,
I don't
you'd be lucky to
squirt.
get 50 fucking calories out of that shit. You're an idiot.
I'm more like I'm more like an oozer, like Elmer School. Like, anyways, okay. So back to Waxtall. What are your aspirations moving forward? With like what do you want to do like next? Like, what is exciting other than getting married to Colleen? Like, are you excited about like music, like theater? Like, what's like on your calendar that you're excited about? Like, what's your aspiration? Are you writing? Are you writing poetry, music? Tell us.
I'm not writing anything. I'm not writing anything right now.
So it's just all a waste.
No, it's not a waste. I'm actually kind of in a transitional period right now. I'm very much adjusting to being back at home and being back at work, being here at this house.
Yeah.
For the listeners at home, I'm roommates with everybody on this fucking podcast.
Absolutely.
It's actually our roommates.
We all live together, so I'm adjusting to living with you guys.
It's a free podcast.
I'm adjusting to living with Colleen.
We don't have a budget.
And I'm adjusting to going by Walkstall. And
If you'd like to donate, please follow the
Good point.
the thing at the end.
Very good point.
I feel like I'm in a transitional period right now. But what I am looking forward to is the feeling that I feel every day continuing, which is feeling more grounded in the changes that I'm experiencing. There's a lot to not being around anybody for a long time and then coming back home to everybody.
To a lot. Yes.
It's just a lot. So and every day I'm home, I feel more grounded and more rooted and more settled in my surroundings and in myself. And not only has it been a change from the trail to being home, but also from being John Huckabee to being Walkstall. It's a whole change.
Right.
Everything's changed.
Yeah, it's all still happening.
I was single and now I'm getting married. Everything has changed.
I love it.
Everything has changed. So I'm looking forward to being more settled in the changes.
Yes.
Which, like I said, every day I feel more and more and more settled.
You're just enjoying
And
it, yeah.
I'm thinking a lot about the future in different ways because I'm engaged now. So
Yes.
I'm thinking about what are we gonna do? Thinking about like how am I gonna afford babies and shit?
Oh, so you want babies?
Yeah, I want babies. I'm thinking about babies and give Colleen a pregnancy test, by the way, just to make sure. Go grab
Let
it
me
now,
just
Katie.
sniff her.
Just
Let
go
me
grab.
just-
Don't sniff her. Your sniff
She's
test doesn't
good.
work.
She's good.
I
sniff is good.
stress a lot about babies. I have a problem. I can't keep my dick hard with a condom. Me
and Colleen are
yeah.
taking the bus to Planned Parenthood tomorrow.
I would love some free condoms. That'd
She
be
has a
great.
car, you know.
But we're taking the bus for the shame ride.
For the shame ride.
No shame. No shame.
Please,
No shame, but that's what they call it.
I feel you.
please respect my white trash heritage. Okay?
I'm looking forward to.
I'm native white trash.
Where like
Native white trash.
my career's going. I have another equity show that I'm stage managing, so I want to know what that's going to be like. I'm looking forward to being married and seeing what that's like.
Yeah.
I'm just like
And
imagining your child right
experiencing
now.
this.
It would be so ungoverned.
I'm still
So
ungoverned.
theatrical.
I'm still very
I
ungoverned.
feel like you'd have not only really pretty babies, but also very independent and be like, you don't know about me kind of babies.
They'd be creative. Okay,
Black babies.
Brenton.
back on
Oh,
topic.
man, they're just very sassy and independent.
This is evolving quickly, so say
So
what
this
you
is
need to
a
say
t-
in the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So, tell us about like. You want to like? How do you want to like the good
Absolutely,
news? Like,
yeah.
mention,
I've
but,
been
like,
hearing
tell us
about
more
the good
about like
news.
the good news. Tell us about the good news.
Well, the good.
I mean, you've already mentioned it about a lot, but like officially announce it, please, for our listeners. Like, what is this good news? Like, the highlight of this hike.
The
Proposal,
engagement.
the proposal.
Yeah, we've been leaking it so much. I think it is a good point to mention. But yeah, we have dabbled in it. Like, I mean, are there any like?
It's never been explicitly stated.
I guess.
Fair enough. Congratulations.
It's-
If y'all stop fucking talking,
Is it-
I'll say it.
wait, I'm not done
Listen,
talking. It's
listen.
real. Is it real? You're really
we're
engaged.
Guys,
Yes, I'm really engaged. Yes, we're really engaged. Colleen and I are getting married on October 30th. It's the day before Halloween.
She locked your ass down.
It's the Celtic New Year. We're
Celtic
gonna get married at Lake Cuyamaca. We're gonna have a hand fasting.
Oh.
It's ancient Celtic tradition, and my friend Earthling, who hiked the trail with me, is going to officiate it. And then we're going to go to the courthouse downtown and make it official.
Nice.
And then we're going to go have a reception at her grandma's house. in
Can I give a
Colorado.
speech?
Yes. And 2 bands are playing. What?
Can I give a speech?
Yes, we already told you could give us.
At the
I
wedding?
love you guys.
Aw.
Yes. Can I make it funny? Are the families like? Do the families like jokes? Colleen, this is on the record. So, Colleen, do the families like jokes? Do the
Like
families
dick
like to
jokes.
laugh?
They some of them have senses of humors.
Ooh, okay.
Senses
so
of humors.
not a
Tell whatever jokes you want to tell. man.
not a big laughing crowd. I'm gonna have to
They're
like.
Republicans.
Oh jeez.
Ew.
Tough cat.
Ooh, I could my Baron Trump jokes to class.
Your Baron joke, Trump joke.
Hollywood and Crush
Come
there,
here,
but-
little Baron.
When does that kid turn 18, by the
I
way?
may
Does
be
anybody
Baron, but
know?
you're Baron it
Just-
all to me.
Wax, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for like the good news. I'm like, I love you and Colleen together. Like, you seem like you give me up. Like, I don't want to get married. I don't even want to have a boyfriend. I cheat on everybody. Like, who cares? But like you and Colleen, you two seem real and genuine, and like you give me hope, and I'm happy.
Yes.
And honestly, this has been a great interview. Thank you for being so like open and honest with all these questions.
Thank
The
you,
only thing,
Awesome.
like, before you go, will you please play us a song on the piano?
Okay, I'll play you guys a song on the piano.
Yay! Let's
All
go!
right.
This is a real treat, everybody. Oh my god.
All right. This song's called PDA, as in Public Display of Affection. It's a song about unconditional love between people, regardless of their race, color, creed, sexual orientation, expression, yada yada yada. That's what the song's about. All right.
Stay, go fast or slow, it don't matter to me. Love to take you out tonight, to laugh and be free. But if you think it's better to stay out of the light, and if you think it's better for love to hide, then I guess we'd better let it go. Affection doesn't need to show. I can hide it, don't you know? If we choose to stay in the dark, remember it won't be better. We lie to ourselves, hoping the pain won't leave a mark. But if we choose to be honest and face reality, then let's choose to be honest about you and me. Well, I guess we'd better let it go. Love for you outweighs this hate we know. They can see and let it show. be, the world is shifting tides. The weary waters of tomorrow will never last. Until the time we learn to dive, this tide will come to pass. They tried to say my love for you is born, that we'll have to hide it till we're old. But affection's something everybody knows. So let them see it, let it show. I'll hold your hand and never let it go.
Thank you for tuning in to the inaugural episode of Let Me Put My Pants On. I'm your producer, Matt McCoy. Your hosts are Brandon Potter, Jaleesa Johnson, and Katie Hinckley. Your guest today was Walks Talk Heath of the Dum Cumsters. Let Me Put My Pants On is recorded in sunny University Heights, San Diego. Join us every Wednesday right here for more topical interviews and discussions. We'll see you next week.
Good.